Alright, so the other day I saw this post on Reddit and I thought it was very interesting and true, especially with the slime characters getting reworks for cards. I mean, they got complete reworks in general, but specifically cards, because I feel like a lot of cards in the game are just very bad. Just very bad. And characters that, could use a complete rework, obviously would be much better, but if they only change one card from their kit, would make them a lot better, and it's so easy for them to do. And I'm gonna be reading off the examples that the Sake tube, posted here. I would upvote, but I don't have a Reddit account. And then I'm going to actually present some examples that I came up with myself here alongside chat as well, gave me some ideas. So, base Arthur, if this card wasn't his actual card, he would actually be a usable character. His stats are also bad. All these characters, for the most part, obviously, if they got a stat rework, it would be much better as well. But, like, one card would also make a big difference. Yeah, this unit support, so change his useless card to a single target, take away ultimate gauge. Either ultimate gauge or something. Like, this card is so bad. The fact that it has no effect on level 1, and I think this is something that I'm going to bring up with my examples as well. Cards that have no effect whatsoever on level 1, gotta go. Because every festival in the game right now has this, right? Every festival in the game has effects on level 1 cards. Every festival in the game become meta because level 1 cards for them do all of it, right? And old characters, for the most part, still have these cards that on level 1 don't do anything. Camilla, change this card to a taunt because this unit is clearly a tank. Yep, that is true. I mean, Camilla, again, also needs a complete rework, but, this card is so misplaced for a character that clearly wants to be attacked and stuff. There's a crit unit, change this card to Spike. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember what this card does. But I believe him. I could actually look up. I have not used the Onion in so long. I don't actually remember what that card does. Shatter. Oh, Shatter. Shatter is an L of a card in general because Power Strike exists. Any character that has Shatter should just immediately get that card changed to Power Strike. Immediately. It's a shame that Shatter is still a thing, right? Because there is a complete direct upgrade of that effect, and it's called Power Strike. So, Arthur level 1 do seal. Still bad. Still bad. The card here doesn't have the debuff symbol. Still bad though. Charge also is an L. Charge, ignoring defense is so bad. And this character had a lot of potential. I think with some changes she would actually be very good. Green Glocks, obviously not that great of a unit, but this is Bleed, right? I haven't used Glocks in so long. Yes, Bleed, as an effect, all Bleed cards are bad. And I bring up with Gallon as well. I'm going to bring up Gallon already. Look at this Bleed. 76%. I don't know why they put Bleed in such a pedestal. That Bleed cards have the worst multipliers ever. But they gotta know that in PvE, we can't bleed bosses, right? So automatically, any Bleed card is pointless in PvE. And then in PvP, for a lot of metas, people could just cleanse, first of all. And if the card does low damage, then the Bleed does nothing. So, Bleed in general could use a rework. All Bleed cards could use an increase on the multiplier. Radistorosa, he wants to be debuffed, so having Scotty's card. Yeah, and again, this is another card that is just not very good. The fact that Radistorosa cocks your whole team could also be something that could be changed but his commandment is just bad, right? For your team. But if he didn't get debuffed by his own commandment and got Attack Lord, and then he also actually had a card that helped him, he would, I don't know if he would be meta, but he would be actually pretty decent. This Guffer card gotta go. He doesn't hit hard, so having a DPS card is bad. AoE attack seal. Okay, I don't know if I want this Guffer to have attack seal, because then he would have debuff and attack seal, that could be a little toxic, but something that would be, you know, actually a debuff card, maybe. Something that would be support, not trying to be DPS when you can't hit hard anyways. Charge, we brought a charge. Charge is bad. Charge is a bad effect. Explode is a bad card. Explode would be a much better card if it again wasn't put in a pedestal like Bleed. I was gonna bring up Explode. Let me bring up Jericho. Like Explode, on level 1, takes 2 turns to proc. Why? Bleed is 90% and it procs for 2 turns in a row, while Explode only happens once and it's 2 turns after the attack. No point. It was a big shaft. I don't know, it was Red Skinny King that had the first Explode, or it was Red Roxy. But I remember when I was using Red Roxy for the first time, the first thing I thought was why? Why is Explode so bad? Why does it take 2 turns? And if it's bad on release, you gotta be damn sure it's gonna be even worse as time goes on. Jericho wants to crit. Yeah, this Jericho has incredibly low crit chance, especially for today's standards. And so, if she had a Sever, this would be much better, because this card, I just checked what it is, and I already forgot. But it's Detonate. Detonate is not a bad effect, I don't think. But obviously, triple crit chance is better. And it would actually work. Her passive would work. Would you look at that? Yeah, in fact, should always be level 1, first of all. Any character that doesn't have in fact on level 1 is a complete L. This Demon Meliodas, he needs a complete rework in general, but this card right here is so sad. I recorded a Green Demon Melody video. I don't know if it will be posted before this one. On Ungeared without Super Awakening. The fact that this card doesn't proc the Infect on level 1 is so sad, knowing that there is an Infect card that procs on level 1 that is infinitely better because it procs on level 1. And like this unit was even worse. Like this unit, right? Before launch, they posted his cards on Twitter because he actually released these cards. I'm pretty sure he was the first unit to have these 2 cards. They posted on Twitter in the JP version. And the comments on the JP Twitter were bashing the unit so hard, they buffed the multipliers. I think this was supposed to be 150, and this was supposed to be 120. They wanted him to be even worse. But yeah. So any Infect character like that. Yeah, reworking RNSR characters would be nice, but then again, this is not like just one card being changed. They would have to rework the whole character, right? This card... Is this the Detonate, or not Detonate, sorry, the Explode or the Seal? In both ways, both those King cards were bad since launch, and this King was relegated to being a 4th anyways. It's the Recovery skill. It disables on level 2 as well. It's like, it's so bad. Any card that doesn't have an effect on level 1 in today's standards is just terrible. And like, the worst thing is that all these cards, right, that have no effect on level 1, either their multiplier doesn't increase on level 2, which is awful, or it increases a little bit and then it gets the effect. One big example I can give of something that they can do is Milim, right? Milim got her cards reworked, and it used to be that she had, it was this one, right? Was it like 60 or 80% on level 1? And then the level 2 was a little bit higher, but the level 3 was the same multiplier as the level 2. It's like, why keep these multipliers the same? 60, yeah, it was terrible, right? And this is one card being changed completely. I don't say completely changed the unit, because obviously she got other things going on as well. Stat buffs, relics, stuff like that, but it helped. The fact that that card is usable now is good. Really good. Yeah, either 60 or 80. Red Merlin is super high Pierce because of her passive. Yeah, if this card did something, people were like, oh, she's a good counter to a Shuna, but you don't really see that many Shunas anyways. But if this card actually did damage, it was triple Pierce like Rimuru. I mean, maybe I don't want to see her be good in PvP, to be honest, because she has freeze, but in any case, should actually hit much harder. This unit was an L from day one, this Grey Merlin. And I think she needs more than just this card should be changed. Her passive is bad, her other card's bad, but this card was so strange to me because they are really putting, again, in a pedestal, the fact that she lowers defense with her stats, right? Because this card lowers defense with her stats, which is a really powerful ability, right? But only disables recovery and buff skills. While Slater, which released, what, was it 1 month before her? This Slater right here, he kept this card, which disables everything, but attack seals, right? And he also has the disable card. And then they gave Merlin this. And it was bugged at one point where the level 3 was AoE or something, but they fixed it. And again, the level 3 disables everything but debuff skills, which is the equivalent of Slater disabling everything but attack seals, but he does down level 1. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Yeah, again, bleed cards are awful. So Mikasa, if she had a better card, it would be nice for her. I mean, both her cards are bad, but again, I think her passive is still good. If it built up a little bit faster, it would be even better. But it would be an easily a good unit if AOT comes back and she gets a rework on stats, passive, being a little bit faster to build up. This card changed. This card specifically, bleed is so bad. It'd been pretty nice. Single target poison. She wants to do poison though. I think they should just buff the multipliers for poison and bleed and shock. They should just buff all these. But if she did have AoE Sever, it'd be pretty good because she has pretty high crit chance as it is. Yeah, charge, again, charge is a bad skill. If this unit had something better than charge, should be so good. And her first card is also bad. Like, it's a thing, like, Roxy gets carried by her passive to, be still decent, but again, she falls in the same category of characters that have no effect on level 1 whatsoever. And you can say charge is no effect as well, honestly. Like, look at this multiplier, 325. Isn't this the same multiplier as Arthur? No, 375, okay. But such a low multiplier for such a shitty effect. And then, this card doesn't do effect. And then the effect that it does is cancel stances, which would be nice on level 1, actually. But not on level 2. So, again, any card whatsoever that has no effect on level 1, L. This card, again, no effect on level 1. And then, but it's... Having no effect on level 1 for an AoE card is like, okay, maybe AoE cards shouldn't just have effects on level 1s that are kind of good, like this effect, the Seals level 2 cards. But the effect of this card is not that good anyways. So, I mean, this pair would be nice for him since he crits. I just think that any card that doesn't have level 1 effects should do something on level 1. Something. Like a damage increase, something. Just have an effect. So I'm gonna quickly go through some of the examples I also have, adding on to that list. Well put list. I think all the examples are good. Monspeed, this card sucks because it has no effect on level 1. If this card was, still like remove one orb, deletes, but the level 1 that ignites, so much better. If you applied the ignite on all 3 as well, like all they had to do is put ignites on him. And or maybe put Ignites on his passive, but that would be reworking the character. I'm just talking about cards. Put Ignites on his card, and it'd be much better. Melaska, this shield should be gone and dusted. This should have been Goddess Liz shield. It'll be much better for the Assault Melee team. Any heal card that has no effect other than healing is an L. This should be Cleanse, Rejuvenate. I mean, this is an old character, blah, blah, but like... I think all healing cards in general that don't have Cleanse are put behind, because even Rejuvenate is okay, but... Also, having healing, the fact that healing characters heal with attack always bugged me, because they're meant to be support characters, and you're gonna give them HP defense. So, I don't know, healing maybe should scale with HP or defense, something. In general, healing with no effects, it just doesn't really help. Denzo, lifesteal sucks, and any character that has a stance with a counter, this is a counter, right? Should have taunt. Like, it just should have taunt, even on level 1. This guy would actually be pretty decent if he had taunt, but He doesn't, so he just, yeah. Green Escanor, his level 2 removes buffs, which is pretty cool, but doesn't increase multiplier. Again, not increasing multiplier on level 2 is just such a shaft. And then again, no effect on level 1. Phil, I was saying the same thing with Blue Roxy. Phil is good, but no effect on level 1 is bad. Maybe Phil on level 1 would be very strong, but do something on level 1, like some effect, something. And then carry the effect of the other cards. Lost Vein charge. If Lost Vein had a charge, not a charge card, he had like a triple crit chance card. And then he also had, again, an effect on level 1. Although he wants to do level 2s and 3s because he's being crit on, but, you know, let's be realistic, sometimes it just doesn't happen. It was so much better. But again, this AoE card, charge, he would be so much better if he had like triple crit chance. Easton, this card, when it came out, was very, very good, especially the level 2 card. But in today's standards, most cleansing comes from blue cards. So being able to seal both recovery skills and blue cards would be nice. Because right now, okay, there was recovery skill. The only recovery skill character I can think of that's good right now is Shuna. And like she just came out. Before that was no one. The only cleansing really is from Margaret. Like real cleansing. So if it was both recovery and buff skills, it would be much better. Again, this is a product of its time. Back in the day, this was because of Blue Skinny King, right? 11 lowers damage dealt per enemy was just, I don't know. This effect is in no other character in the game for a reason. 180 is not even that high of a multiplier. Like 450 AoE is pretty high, but 180 is not that high, so her level 1 is just not very good, especially in PvP. If it was an effect that would help her, or at that point even no effect, maybe. You can put charge on this multiplier. In any case. The 1, and I'll bring up the 1. He's like, oh, the 1 hits so hard. Why you bring him up? No effect. Like, this card has a high multiplier, 600%, but this card hits way harder. Way harder. Especially if you have high HP, obviously. No effect is an L. This could go to like 500 or 450, but have like Spike or Triple Crit Chance or anything that would actually do something that would actually, you know, make him have an effect on the card and do extra damage. It will be much better than what he has. I think I don't want Spike because Spike characters are cursed, but but triple crit chance on this card would have been pretty nice. Maybe I do want Spike. I don't know, because it does have high crit chance with Merlin. This Arthur, this goes for Arthur and the KOF character. Not sure her name. No effect on the first 2 levels, and then level 3 stuns for 1 turn. Wow. Yeah, Athena. 1 turn. Just so bad. I think, man, this character as well, like, you know, if he had a little bit higher crit chance, oh, he's actually pretty decent for such an old character, but disables attack skills is still good. It's just this card is so bad. And if he had a better card, it'd be so nice. Benimaru, you know, he just got buffed, but it's not gonna happen now that he's gonna get reworked ever again, probably. But this card is not good. Like, defense related stats lower is cool for him to crit better, but the fact that it just does that means that it's just such a waste of a turn when you could be doing like King's AoE and then you increase the damage to all allies and get a shield. Like, for example, right? Like, this should be decrease the difference with the stats and CO's buff cards, CO's debuff cards, something. Right? Just doing that is unfortunate. And he would be competitive, maybe, if he did something. But as it is, he's not very competitive. Green Shin has the only card I can remember of that has the same multiplier for all levels, which was so weird when he came out. But I was like, oh, 150 is pretty high for AoE, so I guess it makes sense and it has an effect. But as time goes on, I'm like, what is this? Like, 150 level 3 is kind of a joke. So he would actually be such a big damage dealer. If this was like 300, it like not even like that much, like just 300, it would be actually so good with his relic. Rugal single target sucks. I think that lowering attack related stats is interesting, but again, level 2 doesn't increase multiplier. I think if it actually, you know, didn't have this, like 180, 180, 300, if it was like 180, 270, 450, it would be much better. Man, that was my list. Let me know in the comments if you think there's any other characters that could use a rework like that. I didn't want to go like all rework of the entire character, just one card. Just one card and the character would be much better. And they shown that they can do that. Like the slime characters, they reworked their cards. They definitely can do that. They didn't change the cards necessarily, but still, I don't see why they wouldn't.